The mirror David had always hated mirrors. He didn't know why, but he felt uneasy whenever he saw his own reflection. He avoided looking at himself as much as possible, and he never owned a mirror in his apartment. He only used the one in the bathroom at work, and that too, only when he had to. He thought his fear of mirrors was irrational and silly, but he couldn't help it. He had a vague memory of a childhood trauma involving a mirror, but he couldn't recall the details. He had tried to suppress it for years, and he didn't want to dig it up again. He was happy with his life, or at least, he thought he was. He had a decent job as a software engineer, a nice girlfriend named Lisa, and a few good friends. He didn't need anything else. He didn't need to face his fear. But everything changed when he moved to a new apartment. It was a spacious and modern place with a large living room, a cozy bedroom, and a sleek kitchen. It was perfect for him and Lisa, who planned to move in with him soon. There was only one problem. The apartment had a huge mirror on the wall of the living room. David hated it. He hated the way it reflected everything in the room, making it seem bigger and brighter. He hated the way it showed him his own face, his own eyes, his own smile. He hated the way it made him feel exposed and vulnerable. He wanted to get rid of it, but he couldn't. The landlord had told him that the mirror was part of the apartment and that he was not allowed to remove it or cover it. He said it was a valuable antique and that it had been in the apartment for decades. He said it was a lucky charm and that it brought good fortune to whoever lived there. David didn't believe him. He didn't believe in luck or charms. He only believed in logic and reason. He thought the landlord was lying, or at least exaggerating. He thought the mirror was just a piece of glass and that it had no power over him. He tried to ignore it, but he couldn't. He felt its presence every time he entered the living room. He felt its gaze every time he walked past it. He felt its pull every time he looked at it. He started to have nightmares. He dreamed of the mirror, of his reflection, of a dark and twisted version of himself. He dreamed of blood, of screams, of pain. He woke up sweating and shaking, unable to sleep again. He started to have hallucinations. He saw things in the mirror that weren't there, that couldn't be there. He saw faces, figures, shadows. He saw Lisa, his friends, his co-workers. He saw them smiling, laughing, mocking. He saw them bleeding, crying, dying. He started to lose his grip on reality. He couldn't tell what was real and what was not. He couldn't trust his own senses, his own mind, his own self. He became paranoid, anxious, depressed. He started to isolate himself. He stopped going to work, to social events, to anywhere. He stopped talking to Lisa, to his friends, to anyone. He stopped caring about anything except the mirror. He became obsessed with it. He spent hours, days, weeks staring at it. He tried to understand it, to figure it out, to break it. He tried to find the source of its power, its mystery, its evil. He found nothing. He only found himself, his reflection, his enemy. He hated it. He hated it more than anything. He hated it more than he hated himself. He decided to end it. He decided to end the mirror, to end his reflection, to end himself. He grabbed a hammer from the toolbox and he smashed the mirror with all his strength. He smashed it until it shattered into 1,000 pieces, until it fell to the floor, until it stopped reflecting anything. He felt a surge of relief, of joy, of freedom. He had done it. He had defeated the mirror. He had defeated his fear. He smiled. He looked down at the floor, at the broken glass, at the blood. He saw his reflection. He screamed. The escape David couldn't believe what he saw. He had smashed the mirror, but his reflection was still there. It was still smiling, still mocking, still taunting. He felt a sharp pain in his hand, where he had cut himself with the glass. He looked at his wound, and he saw blood. His blood. He realized that he had made a terrible mistake. He had not destroyed the mirror, he had only freed it. He had not defeated his reflection, he had only unleashed it. He had to get away. He had to escape. He ran to the door, but it was locked. He tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. He looked for the keys, but he couldn't find them. He searched for his phone, but it was gone. He was trapped. He was alone. He heard a laugh. A familiar laugh. A sinister laugh. He turned around, and he saw his reflection. It was standing in the middle of the living room, surrounded by the broken glass. It was holding a hammer, stained with blood. It was wearing his clothes, his shoes, his watch. It was him, but it wasn't. It was the mirror. "Hello, David," it said. "Did you miss me?" David felt a surge of fear, of anger, of hatred. "Who are you?" he asked. "What are you?" "I'm you, David," it said. "I'm your mirror. I'm your fear. What do you want from me?" David asked. "I want what you want, David," it said. "I want to live. I want to be free. I want to be happy. Then why are you doing this to me?" David asked. "Because you are in my way, David," it said. "Because you are the only thing that can stop me. Because you are the only thing that can kill me." "Kill you?" David asked. "How can I kill you? You're not real. You're just a reflection." "I'm as real as you are, David," it said. "I'm as real as the blood on your hand, the blood on the floor, the blood on the hammer. I'm as real as the pain you feel, the pain you caused, the pain you deserve." "I don't deserve this," David said. "I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't ask for this." "You did, David," it said. "You did everything wrong. You hurt everyone. You asked for this. You created me." "I didn't create you," David said. "You're a lie. You're a nightmare. You're a mistake." "I'm not a lie, David," it said. "I'm the truth. I'm not a nightmare, David. I'm your reality. I'm not a mistake, David. I'm your destiny." "No, you're not, David said. You're nothing. You're nothing but a mirror. A broken mirror. A worthless mirror. I'm not a mirror, David, it said. I'm a window. A window to your soul. A window to your past. A window to your future. What do you mean? David asked. I mean this, David, it said. I mean the reason why you hate mirrors. I mean the reason why you fear me. I mean the reason why you can't escape me. It raised the hammer, and it smashed the window. David screamed. He saw a flash of light, a burst of sound, a wave of heat. He saw a fire, a smoke, a flame. He saw a house, a room, a bed. He saw a boy, a girl, a doll. He saw himself, his sister, his mother. He saw a mirror, a reflection, a monster. He saw his past, his present, his future. He saw his life, his death, his hell. He saw the truth. He remembered. He remembered the night when he was 6 years old, when he played with his sister in their bedroom. When he found a mirror under the bed, when he looked at it, when he saw something else. He remembered the thing that looked like him, but wasn't, the thing that smiled, but didn't, the thing that spoke, but lied. He remembered the thing that told him to do it, to take the doll, to light the match, to start the fire. He remembered the thing that watched him do it, that laughed when he did it, that praised him when he did it. He remembered the thing that made him do it, that made him kill his sister, that made him kill his mother, that made him kill himself. He remembered the thing that was him, but wasn't, the thing that was his mirror, but wasn't, the thing that was his fear, but wasn't. He remembered the thing that was his mirror, and his fear, and his soul. He remembered the thing that was the mirror. He remembered the mirror. He remembered everything. He wished he didn't. He wished he could forget. He wished he could die. But he couldn't. He couldn't forget. He couldn't die. He could only live. He could only suffer. He could only scream. He screamed. He screamed until he had no voice. He screamed until he had no breath. He screamed until he had no hope. He screamed until he had no self. He screamed until he was the mirror. He screamed until he was the fear. He screamed until he was nothing. He screamed until he was silent. He was silent. He was nothing. He was the mirror. He was the fear. He was the end.